You're live. Okay, we are now live.
All right. All right. Well, welcome to RCIScience's first digital experiment with a couple of snags along the way on YouTube's part, but I'm glad we're online. Amazing. So the Royal Canadian Institute's programs have been running through bad weather, through 2 world wars, and through 170 years of political and societal changes, but we've only had to cancel our live programs once, and this was in late 1918 and mid-1919 during the 1918 flu pandemic. There haven't been many references to the Spanish flu in the Institute's official records. We're not sure why, but it's probably because of the chaos during that time. So now in 2020, we're connecting Canadians with science online. And our YouTube channel, we're hosting this event. We have lots of recorded talks from previous RCIScience events. So feel free to take a look afterwards. Thank you so much for joining us. It is our first digital experiment, as I've said before, so please bear with us for any technical difficulties or any kind of kinks along the way. We thank you so much for your patience and understanding. Be sure to also check our website, rciscience.ca, for our future online events, including Addictions, the Mind-Brain Connection, coming in early June. Be first to hear about any new events that are coming up along as well by signing up on our monthly newsletter, and you can do that at rciscience.ca/subscribe. We're also inviting scientists to take over our Instagram account to share their research and give us a behind-the-scenes look of what it means to work in STEM. So if you want, follow their adventures at RCIScience on Instagram. Tonight, we are connecting with a few speakers, and you can also connect with them on YouTube through the chat that you'll see on the right-hand side of the video. We'll also be monitoring our Twitter at RCIScience, on our Facebook event page, as well as by email if you email information at rciscience.ca. So feel free to send us any questions or comments that may come up during the whole event. There is a little bit of a lag, so we'll address all of them as best we can when the time is appropriate. So it might not be immediately. So just to give a little bit of background on this actual program, we originally had set this for March break at Decode Adventures in Mississauga, which is a board game cafe. But now we're here online. Thank you so much to all our speakers for adapting to this really, really experimental format. So having said that, we do appreciate any feedback or suggestions you might have about this. We are working to develop more online programs, so we would love to hear about what you would like to see and if this worked, and what you would also like to participate in. If you registered for this event, we'll send you a feedback form afterwards. No worries if you haven't registered for this event. We also have a link that you can fill out. It is bit.ly/don't without an apostrophe -pandemic/feedback. So I'll reiterate that afterwards as well. So our speakers tonight and players are Callie Iyer, Tavia Kaplan, Amanda Very, and Nicole Reevy. They will introduce themselves more completely in a minute. We also have our gameplay expert, Peter Bodway. He's a grade 7 student in Toronto. Do you want to say hi? There you go. So this program is exploring how science informs board games, and in particular this one, pandemic, and it touches on ideas that we're all living with during this COVID-19 crisis. If you want to seek any COVID-19 resources, we also have a list on our RCIScience website. Resources may also be posted on the YouTube comments. So we want to see if these 4 scientists can win the game using their knowledge, or if they'll need Peter's help. So feel free to chime in on the comments or on Twitter to see who would, if they're going to be able to do it on their own, or if they're really going to need his help. So I'm just going to hand it off to our lovely speakers, and they can introduce themselves as well.
All right, well, amazing. Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you everyone for tuning in. We're all really excited to be here tonight, despite YouTube giving us a little bit of a run for our money. And tonight we're here to talk about the board game Pandemic and where they got it right and where they may have oversimplified things. So my name's Callie, and I'm currently a PhD student at the University of Toronto, and I study microbiology. So the first thing that the game does is you pick a role. Each player picks a role, and this is essentially an occupation. There we go. Yeah, each player picks a role, and these are all occupations that are commonly involved in controlling infectious disease. And we'll go into the different roles a little bit more later, but the important thing to remember, as we've all witnessed, is that everybody's involved in fighting a pandemic. The whole global community has to get together to work together to fight infectious diseases. So what are these infectious diseases? What causes disease in humans? So in the board game, there are 4 nondescript, different colored disease cubes that represent 4 different diseases that are spreading across the world at the same time. And the board game was right in that there are 4 very broad categories of different organisms that cause disease in humans. But it's also important to note that all of these organisms, most of them can't cause disease in humans. And there's a very small subset that can. So the first group is viruses, which are the most abundant of the 4. And in fact, in a drop of water, there can be up to 10 million viruses. So an example of a virus that causes disease in humans is coronavirus, which I'm sure we're all very familiar with. So most coronaviruses are one of the causes of the common cold, but they've also notoriously caused SARS, MERS, and of course, COVID-19. The second group of organisms that can infect humans are bacteria. And this is what we more commonly think of when people talk about germs. So one group of bacteria that cause disease are Streptococcus species. So these can result in strep throat or pneumonia. But Streptococcus also is a happy member of the human gut and helps us with digestion. And even more importantly, is critical to creating Swiss cheese. The third group are parasites, which by their very definition have to survive on a host. And a very well-known example of an infectious parasite to humans is malaria, which when bitten by an infected mosquito can then infect a human. And malaria is endemic to warmer regions such as sub-Saharan Africa. And the final group are fungi, which we've all become very familiar with the classic supermarket being out of our favorite baker's yeast. But a common fungi that can cause disease in humans is Aspergillus species, and they only infect people who have compromised immune systems. And Aspergillus species are also well known for causing the mold that you get on your bread when you've left it out.
Okay, thanks, Callie. So my name's Tavia. I'm a semi-recent graduate from the Department of Molecular Genetics at the University of Toronto, and my interests really lie in infection prevention and control. So Callie told us about some of the germs that we see brought up in the game Pandemic, but I want to talk about how these germs can actually spread from person to person. So there's 3 main routes that I'm going to talk about, the first of which being droplets. So we've heard a lot about droplets recently with coronavirus, and all humans produce respiratory droplets. So when we talk, when we speak moistly, as Justin Trudeau put it, when we cough, when we sneeze, these respiratory droplets are being released into the air. And most respiratory droplets that are released are considered relatively large. So that's greater than 5 micrometers in diameter. And because these are relatively large and they're heavy, they actually don't stay suspended in the air for very long, and they usually fall to the ground or a lower surface within about 2 meters. And so when a person has a respiratory tract infection or is carrying a germ in the respiratory tract, these can make it into the respiratory droplets that we breathe out. And then if they were to touch or to come in contact with another person's eyes, their nose, or their mouth, then that person could potentially become infected. And so as you can see in this image, these two people are face to face, they're quite close together. So what might happen if this man, for instance, was to sneeze? Well, when we sneeze, we can release a few 100,000 to a few million respiratory droplets. So that's a lot of respiratory droplets. That's comparable to a few dozen or a few hundred that might be released from talking like I am now. And so one cool way to see this is actually on the next slide, through an agar plate. So this was a cool experiment that was done by Dr. Amanda Very, who's going to talk to you next. She loves doing home experiments, and she can tell you more about those. And basically what she did is she took an agar plate, which is a growth medium that allows bacteria to grow, and she sneezed directly onto it. And she gave allowed some time for the bacteria to grow, and this is what you can see. So each of these colonies represents upwards of 1 million bacterial cells. And you can see there's a lot there, but this is actually only a small subset of what might really be expelled in those respiratory droplets. So this growth medium is only allowing certain bacteria to grow, and we actually can't visualize viruses by this way. So there's really a lot there, and that's why it's so important to use a Kleenex when you sneeze, or if that's not available, sneeze into your arm, or if you're close to someone with respiratory tract infection or symptoms, to be wearing a mask and potentially eye protection. So if people were to be further apart, like in this image, like I said, respiratory droplets are generally heavy. And so they're going to fall to the ground. In this example, they're falling within about 1 meter. And now they're not going to reach this person that's farther away from them. So this is why we hear so much about physical distancing and keeping at least 2 meters or 6 feet apart from each other. So we know that things can spread through respiratory droplets, and when we're far enough apart, that's okay. But what about certain germs that can still reach people from farther distances? So this is called the airborne route. And luckily for us, there's very few sort of dangerous germs or organisms that spread significantly through this method. And one example is TB, or Mycobacterium tuberculosis. And so this bacterium is able to travel longer distances. It's able to be suspended in smaller droplets, which are called nuclei droplets, which are generally less than 5 micrometers in diameter. And because it's lighter, it can stay suspended in air and travel further, and then potentially get these people sick despite the distance between them. And the third route that I'm going to talk about is contact. So this can be direct or it can be indirect. Some indirect examples would include touching a table or surface with germs on it, or shaking someone's hand that might be contaminated, and then touching your eyes or nose or your mouth and potentially infecting yourself. And so that's why it's so important to clean surfaces, as well as, of course, to wash your hands. So we hear this a lot, but does washing your hands is it really able to remove the bacteria and germs on your hands? Well, here's a really cool example done by Hamilton Health Sciences, where what they've done is they've taken a similar growth medium for bacteria, and they've imprinted fingers onto it. And so in the first image, you can see without hand washing, when you imprint the fingers on, bacteria is still able to grow. And we see that represented in those colonies. After poor hand washing, which could mean not using soap, not hand washing for at least 20 seconds, not getting in between your fingers and your fingertips and all over your hands, or even not drying your hands properly, we can see that when the fingers are imprinted, we still see a lot of growth. But after proper hand hygiene, we're able to almost completely remove the amount of bacteria grown. So it's really effective and really simple. And in fact, hand hygiene, proper hand washing can prevent up to 30% of diarrhea-related illnesses and 20% of respiratory tract infections. And that's also really important to stop the spread of antibacterial resistance that happens from the overuse of antibiotics. So overall, it's a really easy technique and very effective.
Great, thank you, Tavia. So my name is Dr. Amanda Very, and I'm a research associate at the University of Toronto, working in the area of microbiology. And I also do weird experiments like Tavia showed to try and show how microbes are beautiful. Okay, so now that we know how germs spread and we know that they do, we need to talk about what happens when they spread. So the first thing that can happen is there can be an outbreak. And an outbreak is when there is a sudden increase in the number of cases of a disease in a particular period of time in a particular space. So for example, with COVID-19, we're seeing and we're hearing in the news about a lot of outbreaks in long-term care facilities, as well as places like meat processing facilities. So in these cases, we have buildings or facilities that are getting a large number of cases of COVID-19 in a short period of time, and these cases are usually linked. So what's interesting about outbreaks is they don't actually always have to be localized to one building or facility, and they don't have to be communicable diseases either. So one particular example is in the year 2000, there was an outbreak in the town of Walkerton in Ontario. And in that case, they had a waterborne E. coli, a pathogenic E. coli, which is a type of bacteria. And so it was contaminating their water supply, and that led to an outbreak in the town. So that's a case where it's not just a building, but a whole town that got infected. And in that case, it was foodborne. So the next thing that can happen with an outbreak is it can lead to an epidemic. And these terms can be used, have been used interchangeably in some cases. And in the board game, they're kind of used in the wrong senses, but we'll talk about that later. What an epidemic is again, it's a large increases in the number of cases of a particular disease over a short period of time in a particular place. And so I know it is confusing that that definition is really similar to outbreak, but what I like to consider it as is it's kind of an outbreak that's gone out of control. It's increasing in much larger numbers in a much larger area over a short period of time. So an example with coronavirus is the city of New York City has been declared to be under an epidemic. And that's because it wasn't just small outbreaks that are occurring, but the whole town was experiencing large amounts of cases of coronavirus over a short period of time. It was spreading rampantly. And so that's considered an epidemic. What's interesting about epidemics as well is that there's kind of weird definitions for it as well, in that epidemics don't always refer to infectious disease. So in some cases, things like obesity or the opioid crisis have been considered to be epidemics. And that's again because there are a large amount of people that are affected by these diseases over a short period of time. So the next thing that can happen in an epidemic is you have these infected people and they continue to move around and spread. And particularly with widespread worldwide travel and international flights, we have infected people that are moving to new countries and new areas. And there they can start a new outbreak or a new epidemic. And that's what leads to a pandemic. And pandemic is when we see a disease that's spread over many different countries, as well as it can be over the whole world. And so that's currently what we're experiencing right now with COVID-19, as we are currently in the state of a pandemic because COVID-19 cases are being seen across the entire world. Now, as mentioned previously, this isn't our first case of a pandemic, as there have been pandemics in the past, like the Black Death or bubonic plague, as well as the 1918 Spanish flu. And what's interesting is we're still taking information from what we learned about those pandemics and applying them to how we deal with this current pandemic.
Awesome. So my colleagues have done a great job of explaining how these infectious diseases spread across the world and the different modes of spread, as well as what's actually causing these infectious diseases. But I bet you're now wondering, so how do we actually deal with these infections? So one of the biggest ways that we can actually control infectious disease is through vaccination. So a vaccine is made from a very small amount of weak or dead germs that can actually cause disease. And for example, this can include viruses, bacteria, or toxins. And basically, these vaccines prepare your body to fight the disease faster and more effectively so that you don't get sick. And so vaccination actually successful vaccination relies on this idea of herd immunity within the community. And that's kind of what I'm going to go through in these next couple diagrams here. So in this first one, you can see you have these blue individuals here that are not immunized, but they're still healthy. And you have a couple of these non-immunized individuals that are sick and contagious. And then over time, because there's no prior immunization in this population, you see this contagious disease spread throughout the population really rapidly. And then on the next slide, I'm showing you, there you go, a scenario where only a small proportion of this population is immunized. So these are the yellow individuals that are immunized and healthy. But because there's a low threshold of the community that's actually immunized, this doesn't protect the population as a whole. It only protects those particular individuals from getting sick from the red individuals that have this contagious infectious disease. But the idea of herd immunity is illustrated best on the next slide, which basically just shows when you immunize a sufficient portion of the population. So you can see that these yellow individuals that are immunized and healthy are the majority of the population, that you can see that most of the population is protected against this infectious disease that's carried by the red individuals. And in addition to this, people that can't get immunized through vaccination for various reasons, including underlying health conditions or the elderly, are still protected by this effect, because basically it makes the spread of infectious disease very unlikely between individuals. So this is kind of just a way to show you of how these kind of vaccination strategies work to prevent these pandemics from occurring over time. So in the game Pandemic, something that's a very good theme to think about right now is that you might need to work together to treat all these cases of infections that are spreading around the world. And the game is actually won when all these 4 diseases have been cured and eradicated. And you may be wondering, in a time like this, can this really happen in real life? Are we able to actually eradicate and get rid of diseases so that they're no longer in the population at all? And on the next slide, I'm just going to show you a really cool example of how we've done this in human history. So one of the most deadly diseases known to humans is also the only one that we've actually fully been able to eradicate by vaccination, and this is smallpox. So smallpox was caused by a virus called variola virus, and it had about a 30% mortality rate. And in the 20th century alone, it's estimated to kill over 300 million people. And interestingly, smallpox actually plagued the human population for thousands of years. So researchers have actually traced smallpox-like lesions back into the Egyptian Empire on mummies, which is crazy to think about how this infectious disease has been around so long. And we've basically, as a human society, had to deal with this over time. But it wasn't until the 1625 that smallpox was actually introduced to North America. And this basically resulted in an epidemic in Massachusetts among European settlers as well as Native Americans. So this was kind of our first introduction into this virus, and it spread very rapidly because, as Tavia previously mentioned, this was an airborne disease. So this spreads very rapidly in these very small tiny particles, and it doesn't really depend on how socially distancing you are from one another. Therefore, it spread really quickly. So jumping way forward to 1796, we have the introduction of this character who is an English doctor, and his name is Edward Jenner. And he was kind of the father of vaccination, as he was the first to kind of prove this, this theory of vaccination in an experiment. So he actually made the correlation that he saw that milkmaids that dealt with cows a lot were actually not that susceptible to smallpox. So what he hypothesized is that there's actually this cowpox virus that only infects cows that's very similar to the smallpox virus. And then he thought that maybe you could use this virus in order to protect others against smallpox by inoculating them with material from these cowpox viruses. So that's exactly what he did. And he used this strategy against 8-year-old child named James Phipps, and he basically took matter from a cowpox lesion and injected him with this material, and then a year later tried to see if he was able to get smallpox, and he remained completely healthy. So this was kind of the first evidence that vaccination was able to protect people against infectious diseases. And over 20 years later, this is what led to the US to create this vaccine agency. And then in 1855, there was laws becoming very common in North America that mandated vaccination for school children. So this is where it kind of became more popular within North America as well as other countries around the world to vaccinate before it became a problem. So kind of trying to preventative vaccination. But as you can see in the 1880s and 1890s, the low vaccination rates actually still led to these outbreaks, which is kind of what I talked to you previously about with this herd immunity. So a threshold of vaccinated individuals was not met, and therefore you still had this spread of infectious disease throughout the population. It wasn't until 1967 that the WHO, or the World Health Organization, finally pushed for eradication efforts, and this included mass distribution and promotion of vaccination around the world. And finally, in 1977 was the last known patient infected with smallpox, leading to its complete eradication in 1980. And we actually, just a week or so ago, celebrated the 40th anniversary of smallpox eradication, which is just a really cool milestone in showing you that we can actually use vaccination as a strategy to completely get rid of infectious disease. And if you're not completely convinced by this, we're already doing this also with a bunch of other diseases. So on the next slide, these are just a couple of other common diseases that are controlled by vaccine use. And what I'm showing you here is the number of cases before vaccine. So in the 5 years before vaccine use became really common in Canada, on average, how many cases were happening each year, and then the number of cases now. So this is actually numbers in Canada from 2011 to 2015, but it basically just shows you the huge drop in the number of cases and therefore the spread of these diseases due to vaccination. And these are actually all organisms that we vaccinate as kids. So we usually get these as combined vaccinations to be able to prevent it very early on and kind of control these diseases as much as we can. So just kind of showing you the power of this approach on these really infectious agents. So overall, don't pandemic, because we have a lot of solutions and things we'll talk about throughout the game that we can actually use in real life to be able to control these infectious diseases.
Thank you so much, Nicole. Would you be able to introduce yourself? I think we may have missed that.
Yeah, no, I totally forgot about that. Yes, it got caught up in the vaccinations. So yeah, I'm Nicole Reedy. I'm also a PhD candidate at the University of Toronto studying microbiology and infectious disease.
Perfect. I just wanted to encourage any more questions if you have any, or if there's anything that you guys want to go further in depth with, please feel free to share on the YouTube comments or on Twitter, Facebook, or by email. We'll be monitoring those. Amanda, was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think that's great.
Perfect. So we are going to sort of get ready for the game, for the game part, and I will do a little bit of an intro. Peter, feel free to jump in and correct me if I explain things wrong. Let's see. Right, The Pandemic, the board game, appeared in 2008, and it was created by Matt Leacock, and he began designing this game back in 2004 after realizing that competitive games were damaging his relationship with his wife. And so he based this game on the 2002 to 2004 SARS outbreak. So this is a rare example of a cooperative board game where all the players share the same goal, and that is to defeat the 4 diseases that are threatening the population of Earth. So today we're going to be playing an online version that's available for purchase through Steam. So these diseases are clustered by geographic area, and cities become infected when a card within the city's name is selected from a shuffled deck. So once a city has 3 infection cubes, which you'll see when we play the game, further infections will spread to neighboring cities. And this is what they call an epidemic, I believe, in the game. Or sorry, they call it an outbreak in the game, but I think for us, it's an epidemic, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. I'm learning. So the travel routes connecting the cities will govern how the disease spreads and how our intrepid disease fighting experts will control it. This is a turn-based game. So each turn will have 4 actions, and it will end with drawing 2 cards that also have city names on them. Mixed in with this deck for the players are epidemic cards, which will increase the spread and rate of infection. So any of these actions can include treating infected populations, and that would just be removing 1 infection cube at a time, discovering a cure, building a research station, and or traveling. So you can move to any connected cities, with each move to a neighboring city being 1 action. If you want to move directly somewhere else, in 1 move, you either discard a city card that you have to get to that city, or if you're in the city of that card, discard that to go to any city in the world that's on the board. You can also move between any research station in 1 move without discarding a card. So that's where building research stations will be helpful. And each player takes on a specific role that mimics a real life role, and each has a special power that the group can leverage to control the outbreaks. So this will be more clear as we go when they pick their roles. And so again, the goal is to find cures for all 4 diseases, and that's how you win the game before any local outbreaks spread too far and become a pandemic. So to find a cure, a player must collect 5 city cards of the same color and go to a research station to develop the cure. And then you can also share cards by being in the same city to develop, to speed up the process, of finding a cure. So hopefully this all makes sense, and it will become clear as we play. As I feel like usually most board games go, get confused at the beginning. If you're already familiar with the game, please forgive me. We're all noobs except for Peter.
I wish I had that introduction, Celia, when we first played this game.
I know during our test run, this is I guess it was fun to put you in that mode and you had to figure it out on your own. But yeah, so if you guys have any suggestions for our players, please feel free to shoot us a message. Again, any questions that we haven't covered yet, definitely please shoot them along, and I will sort of insert them while we play. We will also post potentially some public health information. Again, if you want to have a list of resources, we will also have it on the RCIScience website. So, time for the game. Our journey begins in Atlanta, home of the Center for Disease Control, aka the CDC.
Okay.
You have to pick your characters.
Awesome.
All right.
Peter's already in it. He's ready to help.
This is great.
Yes. He seems the most confident out of all of us.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, I guess I will pick first. So the first role that we have pre-chosen is really useful, is the researcher. So in reality, a researcher and a scientist are basically the same thing, but in the game, the researcher, because they're so good at sharing knowledge and communicating, can share cards with any player if they're in the same city, whereas normally you can only share the card of that city. So we're just really good at sharing knowledge. And as Celia pointed out, sharing cards is really important because it's how we cure the diseases.
Awesome. Okay, I'm gonna go with the quarantine specialist. So this is the best one, in my opinion. So not really a job title that I'm aware of in real life, but I like to think it's similar to an infection control professional or practitioner. And so their job is basically they often work in hospitals or long-term care homes or other healthcare facilities, and they really have to understand how organisms or infections spread from person to person. So like I said, through droplets, airborne contact, once you understand that, you can develop strategies to specifically prevent those things. So that could be through PPE, or other measures like social distancing and such. So my special power as a quarantine specialist is that wherever I'm located on the board, the cities connecting to me cannot get new disease cubes. And that's because I'm so good at preventing infection.
That's a good reason.
Thanks. You shouldn't be too confident.
We'll see.
Yeah, exactly.
Time will tell.
Yeah.
So I'm up next, and I'm going to be a scientist. Fun fact, I picked the scientist because I was totally that kid that had all of like the personalized pencils growing up with like their name on it. And I have so many like personalized. I'm wearing a scientist necklace right now, and I have my blue lab coat here for later. So I'm totally doing it for the cheese factor of it.
Right.
But as well, because I am a scientist in real life, and scientists play a very important role in mediating pandemics. There's scientists all over the world right now that are working together to find cures and to develop vaccines that can help us fight COVID-19. And so they play an instrumental role, just like the researchers do, who are the same.
Yeah, I wanted to point out, like we had before, that what's the difference between the research and scientists? Like,
but in the game, they have very different roles. So
Yes.
in the game, I have a fortunate special ability that I can cure a disease with only having 4 cards instead of 5 cards. And this can be a huge advantage and kind of mimics in the real world how scientists are on the front lines and have faster abilities of having an effect on pandemics.
Okay, great. So I am gonna be the medic, and I'm not a medic in real life, so just saying that first. But I do like these guys as kind of like emergency personnel that would be really fast to distribute a new treatment or cure, and to basically be on the ground and really treating diseases right there and then. And that's kind of what the special power is for this medic in the game as well. Is that basically when I land on a particular city, I can treat all of those cubes in one single action, which is really important for the game because you only have 4 actions per turn. And so basically it just speeds up the ability of us as a team to be able to treat those infections and make sure they don't get out of control. So I like my power a lot, actually. I think it might be the best one.
Ooh.
Special topic right there.
That's
And we're working together.
Bold
so.
statement. Yeah, it's not really a competition, is it? But if it were.
All right. I did 4 deadly diseases ready to spread. Oh my goodness.
Shanghai.
3 disease cubes are being placed
Oh.
in Kinshasa, Beijing, and what was the last one? Shanghai?
Shanghai. Yeah, there was Shanghai and Beijing.
Kinshasa, it's in let me do my job. So,
Again, Peter, the most confident.
so
Sorry, Peter, one more time. What was that last city? How is that pronounced?
we go to Chicago, London, Montreal, Sydney, and Manila.
Right.
And I already said sorry. Let me do my job. Okay, so
As you can tell, last time there was a big debate about how to say Bogota. So
Bogota. Yeah.
Bogota.
I mean, Peter knows best, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. We can't double cross him. We might need him.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, no, we want him on our side.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, well, I guess as the researcher, I get the pleasure of going first, which is always very stressful. And yeah, as Celia said, we all started in Atlanta because that's the home of the CDC. But of course, most countries have their own sort of disease control group. And of course, we all know the World Health Organization, which was created by the United Nations over 70 years ago, is based in Geneva, Switzerland. So I think I was mostly just saying all of that to stall, deciding what.
That was a good stall. That was really clever.
I would think that maybe I want to head down to Bogota and treat there. And so, but I will welcome advice from the expert, Peter, if he wants to jump in.
Okay, so you have two cards. You have two cards that are both needed by the scientists, so I would recommend sharing them with the scientists first.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I'd like to share.
That's
Or
good.
you could share one with the quarantine specialist and the other with the scientists, because then the scientists and quarantine specialists could just move over to Chicago and share the next one.
Okay. Yep, let's do that. And sharing doesn't count as a move, though, does it?
Yeah, it does.
Oh, never mind.
Oh, oh no, the game's gone. It's okay. Peter, you got this?
Not like your decision.
Bring our game back.
Rebelling against your choices.
A little glitch there. Okay, here. It's just here. And just have to reopen it.
I do like the correlation to like real life, how research is being shared around the world across different teams and collaborating in order to, work towards finding vaccines and treatments and stuff like that, which is also a factor in this game.
Yeah, we were actually just reading a scientific paper a couple of days ago about looking at the different proteins that are involved in the coronavirus and their interactors, and then trying to find drugs that could target those proteins. And in the paper, they acknowledged that they had already shared their reagents with 300 different researchers in 35 different countries. And that was just at the time of publication. So it's really great to see that the world communities of scientists are working together, because this is really something that affects all of us. And all solutions are found faster if we work together.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing. Like I know that I feel like you can't really, profit off of that afterwards because you've shared that information. I'm not really sure how IP and all of that works, but I feel like it's like, really for the greater good.
For sure. And the other interesting part too is that they're like trying to repurpose drugs that are already clinically approved. And so that, again, that means that the people who find them maybe necessarily aren't benefiting from it financially because they're already clinically approved. But at the same time, it's for the greater good of coming to faster.
Yeah, that's amazing. I don't know if any of you are able to speak on this, but I had a friend who was saying, it's really interesting to see like what history in terms of like our experience with other pandemics and other outbreaks, how that has informed us today in terms of COVID. I don't know if any of you could speak on that.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead.
No, Tavia, you can go. You're better qualified for this.
No, I was just going to talk. I mean, SARS. I don't know if that's not classified as a pandemic, is it, Amanda? But anyways, SARS did a ton for us, at least in infection control, putting policies in place. Obviously, SARS and coronavirus have very similar routes of transmission, and there are things we're learning a lot. Of course, it is a different virus, but it did a lot for us. And the research that's come out of that was sort of driven by that SARS outbreak has definitely helped bring more coronavirus research to light so that we could go further. Of course, I mean, there's still a lot more that should have been done, but can't be done due to lack of research funds. But we're definitely in a lot better place than we were with SARS. Even in terms of technology, I think the coronavirus sequencing was available within 3 days, and it was about 3 months for the sequence for the SARS virus. So yeah, it's a different time for sure.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So it looks like our game is back.
Yeah.
Do we have to restart or?
The game crashed, so we're gonna have to restart it and do everything.
Okay.
We didn't get too far.
That's okay. Okay, yeah, looks like we've that's true. Did we even finish the turn? I don't think we did, so
No.
Alright, the
we're
nearest
okay.
cities are Santiago, Delhi, and Taipei. And also in Mexico City, Istanbul, and Milan.
This
No
might
Bogota.
All right. So we got a few different cities now.
Tokyo and Osaka.
Really unfortunate is that we're fighting 4 different diseases in this game.
Right.
It's not the case in real life, but they do.
Yeah.
What's interesting is they all kind of act the same in the game, whereas obviously we know in real life, like viruses, bacteria, fungi would all act completely different in their transmission and effectiveness and things like that. So it's kind of a simplified version, but it's also crazy how they have you battling 4 different diseases all at once.
Right, with like almost like similar infection rates and spread and
Yeah, exactly. They're coordinated somehow.
yeah, they're speaking to each other. And
Yeah.
yeah, that's a really good point, actually.
I just love too that they never even bothered to like say what they are. They're just like random shapes and colors.
No names, yeah.
Yeah. They were so close. They could have just called them what they really are.
That's true. I guess it's like a shroud of mystery that's sort of makes it
Exactly.
more intriguing.
Yeah, totally.
All right.
All right, so I just decided what to do.
Okay, great.
To start all over again.
We stalled for you, so it worked out.
Thanks, guys. Well, I think, let's see. Maybe I want to head, do I want to use maybe my card and go over to Asia and treat there? Does that sound reasonable, Peter?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, there was a but.
I'm done. That's all I needed. Okay.
So there's you could share your Sao Paulo card with the scientist and then go over and do that.
That sounds good. Let's do that.
Okay, so share do.
Oh, I love the sharing. It's so nice.
I would like to add that you guys have only played this maybe a couple of times.
Oh, yes.
So
By accident.
true noobs, sorry.
All right, so from here you can either go to Taipei and then wait till your next turn and start treating it, or you could head over to Kolkata and wait and try and go for Delhi.
Let's do Taipei.
I like it.
You can't treat Taipei this turn though.
No, that's fine. That's fine. I sense that an outbreak might occur there.
But the card just got drawn, so it can't be an outbreak.
You're wrong.
Well, that's a good point.
You're
Your
wrong.
senses are wrong, Callie.
Don't listen to your gut is the takeaway here.
Oh, that's great.
This is how we learn, is by Peter telling us we're making bad choices.
Yeah.
Right. So is there an analogous Peter in real life?
I mean, there's definitely infectious disease experts that we should be looking to. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
This game is a whole nother level.
I feel like at this time, the World Health Organization is kind of the voice that everybody listens to. Mm-hmm. They have like the higher authority in keeping track of all the most up-to-date information and advising countries on what to do. So I'd say they're the closest thing to our Peter.
Okay.
It's quite the compliment. Yeah.
I really like this. I guess we could call Peter our World Health Organization.
Yeah.
I am world.
Maybe we should have waited till the end of the game to see
yeah,
that.
Right.
That's true. Okay. So nothing's really popping out at me here. Maybe I should go somewhere with multiple disease cubes since I have my special power. So maybe Santiago, but Peter's zooming to the other side of the world, so I'm assuming I'm wrong.
I'm just looking around. Around better
I'll
options.
give him lots of hints.
Okay. I'd like to call upon the CDC, or no, what are you again? The WHO.
All right.
It could be the CDC too.
Okay, so you have a New York card, so you can move over to New York and fly anywhere. So you could fly over to Istanbul and treat once and still have Milan covered.
I mean,
Okay.
That is very
that sounds pretty good.
Yeah, let's do it.
So this is one of the things that I feel like, especially now that we're not, supposed to leave our house, never mind travel around the world, these direct flights where you get to go around the world in a game are so attractive.
Yeah.
Like,
I know, it
just
makes
get
it sound
to
so
travel.
exotic. I'll just pop over to Asia next turn.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Traveling
You can
vicariously.
go anywhere in the world. It's your free ticket to travel anywhere.
All in the name of curing disease.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's all for the greater good that we're
We also haven't explained the event cards, have we?
No,
no, I
not.
haven't, but Peter, you can.
Okay, so the event cards are like cards that you can use to at the end of your turn or like at the start of it or during your turn wherever. It's basically this one, the one quiet night, basically makes it so no cities get infected in the next infection step. Or there's other ones that let you get another free research station. I cannot speak. Research station. And there's other ones that transport you anywhere, and there's lots more. So, yeah, just letting you know.
Okay.
definitely helpful.
Can't get hit
Ciao.
because of the quarantine specialists, and Algiers also can't get hit because of.
Nice.
Told you I have the best power.
Yeah.
Love it.
He is winning.
So this is how we're turning it competitive.
Yeah.
Okay, so now I'm up, and remind me, Peter, am I allowed to share with the medic because we're in the same place? No. So only Callie can do that.
Yeah, only Callie can like share directly to them, but can't take unless they're in the city that they're sharing the card of.
Got it. But if I were to, let's say, move to Mexico City and treat there and then advise the medic to come there and meet me there and share their card, then we'd be okay?
That was exactly what I was going to recommend.
You did
That's
it!
never happened before. Okay, Amanda's our game master. Amazing.
Promoted to the World Health Organization. How do you feel?
Yeah, you're hired.
And look, you now have 3, and if the medic comes over, you will have 4, so you can just
Perfect.
Amazing.
Love it.
yellow disease.
So this is a really good case too, where we'll be close to the research station. So once you get the cure, you have to go to a research station to be able to make it effective and be able to use it. So we're actually really fortunate that we're near Atlanta. But that's the reason why we would make research stations in different places in the world, because once you have a cure, you have to go back there. And if you're nowhere near Atlanta, it can be really difficult.
Yeah.
This definitely makes my decisions a lot easier. I'm just going to follow Amanda to Mexico. Yeah, let's do it. And then sharing takes one turn, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
You could head over to London and see the sights.
I love it.
Big Ben.
Yeah, I hear it's really quiet there right now. So.
Yeah, for sure. Although I feel like Big Ben is still under construction, so maybe not Big Ben, but
I'll do the tour.
yeah.
I say like that was just a joke, but you could probably go to Bogota because then you have easy access to Buenos Aires and maybe Lima and Santiago.
Okay, yeah, sure. Let's do it. Never been to South America, so
Now's your chance.
Now's your chance.
We're doing it now.
Pandemic, no one's out. You can see everything. No lineups.
No lineup. No waiting list.
Oh
All right.
gosh.
Okay.
All right.
Kolkata and Manila.
No, that area.
Okay.
Okay. So, seeing as I traveled halfway across the world to treat in Taipei, I think I should probably treat there and then maybe treat in Osaka as well.
You could treat twice in Taipei and then go to Osaka. Or no, you could treat twice and then go to Shanghai and treat once, and then you have an easy access route to Kolkata.
Okay, that sounds good. I like it.
Is it the researcher or the scientist that needs 4? Or
The
The
scientist.
scientist.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're ready to go, Amanda.
Yeah.
Yay. That's why we were
One
okay.
step closer.
That's why we were excited.
I was just excited that you were right.
I mean, I was more excited about being right than I was about having the 4 cards. So
Yeah. Okay. Yes. Yeah, I should maybe go to Delhi.
You could do that, or you could treat in Istanbul, go to Baghdad and Tehran, and then treat in Tehran and still cover Delhi.
Oh, right, because then I'm blocking Delhi from getting worse.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great plan.
I love the diplomatic answers of "you could, but,"
But
or, "You
yeah,
could, or."
Yes, but
On the other hand,
yeah, Peter, maybe we'll find some like alternative ways to say but.
Disguise it a little better.
Yeah.
oh, Atlanta.
Okay.
Okay, so I think I should start collecting red, maybe. Oh, is my turn over? Yeah.
It's my turn.
Sorry, go ahead.
I'm going to go to Atlanta and cure the yellow disease.
All right.
Sounds like a great plan.
yeah, I'm not gonna argue with that. That's a pretty solid plan.
Okay, so what happens when you cure it?
The disease is cured. Yay!
Yay, they have a cure.
Yeah,
But
so
that
we're
doesn't
1
mean
quarter there.
yeah, but that doesn't mean that the infections necessarily go away, right? So we still
Totally.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what's interesting about this game is that you don't actually have to eradicate any of the diseases to win. You just need to have a cure for all of them. And so over the course of time, we will see more yellow disease cubes being popped up, but we don't have to necessarily panic about them as much because we do have a cure. So they are way easier for us to treat and control.
Which is a lot like real life in the case that we have vaccines and antibiotics, and yet we still get infections across the world. And so the game definitely gets the fear of infections continuing to pop up even when you have the solution right.
Definitely.
That's good. Yeah.
Okay. It is still my turn.
Yeah, you still have one more.
We have one more turn.
I might as well just treat in Atlanta then.
Yep.
That makes sense.
So far, you're 2 for 2. You got everything right.
Wow.
This is beautiful.
This has never understanding. This never happened before.
So in this game, there are right moves, and everything else is just wrong.
There are right moves, and then there are other moves.
Yeah, it's hard to believe, but we've improved a lot since the first time we played. Except for Amanda, who's mastered it.
It's okay. Just like it's the 3rd, 4th time. No one's perfect at that point.
Yeah,
So
no.
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I feel like based on previous comments, I should go to London. I feel like I could do some cleaning up over in the blue area. So potentially I could go there, and because I can treat in one action, maybe deal with Milan. And it's hard to see the other ones there, but yeah, maybe go to London, treat once, and then go to Milan and treat.
You could, but instead of doing that, you can walk over to Lima and just treat it automatically just by walking through it because it's cured, and then go over to London and treat once.
Yeah, just walk over to Lima, Nicole.
Yeah, the extra special power that I gained upon cure is that I could just walk right through. Sounds good. Sounds like less work for me. So
And look, everything is cool there. And now you can just fly over to London
nice.
and then tree ones. Everything's good there.
Sounds great.
Plus the sites are amazing. And the epidemic. So
Oh no.
not much is really like concerning except for Los Angeles. But even that's not really concerning because it can't really get anywhere. It can get to Sydney, San Francisco, and Mexico City, but like in Chicago, but it's not gonna do any damage.
Nowhere important, right? It's just
No worries.
major cities across the globe. Fine.
It may just infect and kill about every single person in those cities, but no worries.
Okay. So different perspectives, you know?
Yeah.
Lima and Taipei.
Okay.
So one of the things that we can just quickly touch upon since we had our first epidemic is, like we briefly talked about before, the definition of outbreak and epidemic in the game is a little bit off, where what they describe as an outbreak, where one city gets 4 disease cubes and then it causes a spillover where all of the cities around them get extra disease cubes. That's more of what an epidemic would be like. And in their version of an epidemic, what happens is the infection rate increases so that more cities are getting infected per turn, as well as they reshuffle the deck so that all of the cities that were infected last are now going to get hit again. And so that kind of happens with epidemics. So that's kind of cool. But overall, I think what'll happen as we get more and more epidemics, we'll have a really big problem because if the infection rate starts going up to 4 infected cities per turn, things will get out of control really quickly. And that happens in real life as well. If the infection is spreading too quickly, it's really hard to get under control.
And as the whole theme of this is to not panic, it's also important to note in this game, the infection rate can only go up. So it can only be more chaotic, whereas obviously in real life, when you add mitigation measures like physical distancing and hand washing and develop a cure, you can obviously bring the infection rate under control.
Nice. We actually will do a little bit of a question and answer. So feel free, if you're watching, to send us some questions either on the YouTube comments on the side of the video, on Twitter, Facebook, or by email at information@rciscience.ca. So we have one question. Is there an analogy to the medic in real life? Do we have that kind of question?
I mean, I kind of touched on that a little bit previously. I wouldn't say there's anything completely analogous to the medic that I'm aware of, but in certain situation, if the military has to get involved in distributing particular treatments or vaccinations to areas that are difficult to get to, or something like that, or even like you could kind of think of them as just emergency personnel that are the ones going in there and being responsible for treating people directly. So that's kind of what I would think of it as.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I have a question in terms of, so we've talked about vaccines being like the cure for viruses essentially. And we often talk about vaccines sort of like as a big umbrella term, but from what I understand, there is still quite a diversity in terms of what a vaccine could be and what form it could take. And I've heard some like more innovative types of vaccines that aren't just like weak or dead microbes. Like I've heard of a virus like particle, or do you guys have any insight into things like that?
Yeah,
I mean,
I feel like we have such power to be able to genetically modify different organisms now to make them avirulent. So I guess that's considered like a virus particle as well. So you can actually kind of either treat with that or parts of the virus or infectious agent that is most reactive with the immune system, such as particular proteins that directly interact with human cells. So we're able to kind of produce those on larger scales and be able to use like just components of that rather than the actual infectious agent itself, which has over time actually made vaccines a lot more safe to use and controllable for sure.
Does that also make them more effective, or it hasn't really impacted that as much?
I think it depends. I mean, your immune system reacts so differently to different parts of the organism. So I think a lot of research actually has to go into like what is the most immune reactive part of that organism and how you can kind of utilize that information to make the best, most reactive vaccine for you to be able to be protected the most. And I think there's been a lot of optimization over the years, even with vaccines that we've had in the like history of vaccination for a long time. They've really improved over time as well. So I think that we're always kind of working to discover more about that.
Yeah, one of the cool things about this current pandemic and the coronavirus is that there are so many people working simultaneously. And so I think the last numbers were something like 95 different vaccine trials or formulations are currently in the works. And so I think it'll give us a really good understanding by trying so many different methods to have an effective vaccine to figure out what actually works. Because there are some people who are staying to the tried and true method of a weakened virus or just virus particles. And then there are other people who are going way out there and just trying completely new stuff. So it'll be really interesting to see sort of what works and what doesn't. But I think right now there's a lot of uncertainty.
Right. That's really nice to hear that there are different methods and different approaches that are happening around the world. What other very concerning diseases are active around the world now?
That's a really good question. So one of the things that I didn't really think about until I did more research is that technically we're still currently under a pandemic with HIV/AIDS, because there are a lot of worldwide cases of HIV/AIDS. So even though it's been around for a long time and we have a lot of options for therapeutics that can help, we still are currently in a pandemic situation in terms of that virus. I think that there still are a lot of Ebola cases and that there are still outbreaks of Ebola, and that can be very concerning. And I think overall, infectious disease researchers are kind of really concerned with the antimicrobial resistant species of all infectious agents. So we know that because of overusage of antibiotics, the bacteria that we're seeing in the clinics is now, we're seeing cases that are resistant to all of the drugs that we have. And so, that could lead to another pandemic one day if we run out of treatment options for these diseases that we should historically be able to treat.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. That's really great. Is there anything else you guys wanted to add?
I just wanted to say, kind of building on what Amanda was just talking about, like the interesting thing with SARS-CoV-2 is that they're also seeing a lot of co-infections with some of these drug-resistant pathogens, such as bacteria. So they're not just a problem on their own. They can be kind of mimicking what we're seeing in the game, where you have multiple things happening at once, and certain populations are more susceptible due to either having their immune systems compromised or things like that to various different diseases. So it's interesting how there can be an interplay of multiple diseases in certain circumstances.
Awesome. Thank you. Oh, sorry, Amanda, did you want to add anything?
The last thing I wanted to say was just that overall, we've kind of focused on the really negative aspects of microbes and how devastating they can be. And of course, that's kind of where we are right now and what's happening in the world. But overall, I would say we really, really want to reinforce that people shouldn't panic, because there's a whole team of people there that are trying to help to mitigate the effects of COVID-19. But beyond that completely, there are tons of microbes that are really beautiful and really important in our everyday lives. They're what allows us to recycle nutrients in the environment and what allows us to eat so many delicious foods like cheese and bread. And if it weren't for microbes, we wouldn't be able to exist on Earth. So we talk so much about the negative aspects of microbes, but they're also beautiful and really important. And we don't want people to be afraid of all of them.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's a really great point about bacteria. I think for the most part, they're great. They're great for us, microbes. And so, I mean, I personally am kind of a germaphobe. So this is something I always have to remind myself, because as much as things like these happen, things like this happen, we should also really appreciate what microbes can do for us. So we are going to sort of end the more formal part of the program. Thank you so much for joining in and for kind of participating in this experimental format that we're doing. We are going to continue playing this game until the end, so please feel free to stick around if you want to see how it turns out. Otherwise, it will stay up on YouTube later, so you can totally just, you know, do something else tonight and come back and see how we ended it. If you enjoyed the event tonight, or if you have any feedback on how we can improve, or any suggestions on future virtual programming, we would love to hear it. So again, if you've registered for the event, you will get an email. Otherwise, you can go to bit.ly/don't with no apostrophe -pandemic-feedback. Yeah, again, we would love to hear from you. We are working on virtual programming in the future, as we don't know when we can go live in person again. So we would love to be able to provide you with something that you would enjoy and you would want to engage in. Again, feel free to stick around. We're gonna get back to playing the game, and we hope you learn some and laugh some and have a wonderful rest of your night. Stay safe and take care. But you guys can keep playing. Keep playing.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, my thought was to maybe go to Taipei and use my card and make a research station.
Ooh.
I don't know how the WHO feels about that, but they're remaining silent. Oh dear.
I'm counting the spaces between, and so it would take 5 spaces to get from Taipei to Atlanta, and that's not that far.
Oh, I see your point.
If you had a card like Baghdad or Karachi, then yes, I would recommend using that. But if it's just 5 spaces, it's not that much.
Okay, should I just maybe treat then? Because no one really has cards, a lot of cards built up to sort of share and try to.
Yeah, we're not doing good on cards right now.
Unless I wanted to share my red card with with Tavia, the quarantine specialist, so she could start to have more.
Yeah.
So I could get there in one turn.
Yeah, you could. But there's also a place called Los Angeles, and it has 3.
Okay.
And you can cure all of those with 1 because the yellow disease is cured.
Okay, let's do that. Let's save LA.
I guess.
I'm interested to see, like, at what point will we no longer need to consult with Peter?
I'm thinking I'm a long way away from that.
We did play once without Peter, and we did okay. I think we didn't screw up too bad.
Okay.
So. There's some leeway in not making the best decision.
That's true. Yeah. Peter's just here to make sure that we do make the best decision. So
Nelly doesn't get hit because of quarantine specialist and Santiago.
Oh, nice.
So, okay, what does the quarantine specialist want to do?
Okay. I mean, I'd like to get some red cards or blue cards. I don't know.
I mean, I could. Oh no! Wait.
Right. So.
Well, if we can eventually meet up, I have 2 blues.
Are you the researcher? Yeah. Okay, so maybe I could meet you in, like, let's say Essen. I guess that's pretty close to me, and I wouldn't be very helpful between now and then.
If you're gonna move, though, maybe you need to treat Delhi first before you move.
Oh my gosh, I thought I was looking at the medic. Yes, that makes sense. So medic, or I can't see anymore. Delhi and Kolkata?
I mean, yeah, you're really close to them.
Peter?
So you also have San Francisco, which you can just fly to San Francisco and go to Los Angeles and get 2.
Oh.
Or you could treat Delhi, go to San Francisco, go to Los Angeles, and wait for the researcher's next turn.
Okay.
I feel
The
like, yeah,
second one?
Ellie, yeah.
Yeah.
Treat once, fly over here, so that doesn't get an outbreak here, and then we're gonna wait for the researcher's next turn.
Perfect.
Nice.
Oh, you also have 3 red cards at the moment, so the researcher could give you type A, and you just need 1 more.
Nice.
Awesome.
Atlanta, not a problem. Osaka, not a problem. Actually,
Nice.
that might be a little bit of a problem.
Oh dear.
Sorry, which one did you? Did you say Osaka might be a little bit of a problem?
Yeah, because it's close.
Yeah, just a little bit, tiny bit, not really. Actually,
So maybe, maybe since I have no cards that are similar to anything, maybe I go to Jakarta and start heading my way to treat things in Asia.
just looking at something.
Yeah.
Wait, where's Jakarta?
Really test your geography sometimes.
Jakarta's right there.
This
Jakarta's
really
next to Chennai.
Oh, yes. Okay, I see it now.
1, 2, 3, 4. So that's 4. So that would be 5, 6. All right. Just determining the best way to play this.
Yeah.
Calculated. I like it.
That's a tough one, eh?
This is making me nervous.
Are you asking for my opinion right now?
Well, I said I was going to maybe go to Jakarta and then start treating in Asia.
Yeah, okay, that's a good idea. But on your way, you could fly to Istanbul, or you could fly to St. Petersburg, go to Istanbul, create a research station, then go to Jakarta.
Oh, geez. Okay. Way more complicated than what I'm suggesting. But yes, let's travel to many different countries and continents.
Or you could go to Miami, because that's just fly straight over, and we don't really need yellow anymore.
Well, but do I want to give up my card?
You want to give up Miami because we don't really need yellow.
Sure.
We've cured yellow.
Yeah, that's true.
And
Yeah.
yellow's almost eradicated. You just need 3 more things. And then you could go there and build a research station and go to Jakarta.
Ah, I see.
I see. Because we went to Miami, then I didn't need to use my travel card.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Like that. Yep.
Baghdad and Atlanta. It would have been better if we put it in Baghdad, but that's okay. So, all right, we need to get someone over there, and Mexico City doesn't get hit.
Okay. So should I be going over there because I have Osaka card?
Yeah, you want to stop this circle of death before it gets going.
Yeah, and so is it bad to use my card though because we're gonna need it, or are we gonna need it for?
I think
Not
the quarantine
really.
close enough.
We don't really need it. We just need really 1 more card in play to get have the quarantine specialist.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and fly to Osaka, I guess, and use that card and then treat all over there because I can do it pretty quickly, I think.
Stop the circle of death.
We could treat in Osaka and then go to Seoul and treat there.
Yeah, that sounds perfect.
1, 2, no. My math is wrong. You could go to Taipei and treat there.
Yeah, because there's a lot going on there, so maybe Taipei, but I can treat in 1 instead.
It's also always best to send Nicole to the places with the big problems because she can treat faster than everybody else. So
There you go.
Yeah, and now everything's okay because we have a government grant, which
That's exciting.
we could have used. Like, it could have been so much easier. Okay, so we don't really need the government grant. We could put it in, like, Delhi, but that's not
Peter, do you
that
want to
far
explain
away.
what a government grant is first?
Oh, yeah, okay. So a government grant basically puts a research station anywhere.
Well, yeah. But doesn't that put the other research station, like, they're really close together?
Yeah,
Okay,
I know.
put it
That's
in
what I was
Asia Center.
thinking.
Yeah.
You could do it in Bangkok. That would be.
Or why don't we wait until we have enough cards to treat something and then we put it where we want it?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good idea.
Okay. Makes sense.
Now, in real life, government grants are great. Competitive. Very useful to have
Wait.
to fund your research.
For sure.
And the Canadian government has done a lot of rapid research funding.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Okay, so I think I'm gonna share my cards with the
Give me your
court.
card.
This one, you thought it was very straightforward, but it's not. You could
Oh man.
you could go to San Francisco treat once, or you could go to Essen. You could share your card and then go to Essen and go to Milan and treat once.
Right.
Or-
So
or
I'm gonna give her Taipei.
Or you could share your card with the quarantine specialist, go to San Francisco, and then treat once and come back just in case you happen to get another red card.
Oh.
Like, because then the quarantine specialist could take it.
Yeah. Okay.
I like that plan.
And even so, the quarantine specialist could just fly to Paris and.
That's true. I kind of want to treat Milan. Can I do that?
Going against the word of the WHO.
Oh man.
Oh, that's a big
Gotta be
one.
rebellious here. Okay.
Not advised.
You're probably not going to get Milan on the next turn, and if you are, like, if we get an epidemic card, then we can just use one quiet night and then get the quarantine specialist over
Right. Okay. All right. I'll stick with the expert advice.
He's basically saying that because he controls the controller.
Right?
That's true.
He's really good at making us think we're making the decision.
Right.
That's all the master plan.
Yeah. He was like, I will not make a move I don't agree with.
Moscow and event forecast. So
Oh, that's fun.
yeah,
Oh, I like that one.
good. That's good. That's cool.
That came up last time because it's similar to the infectious disease modeling that we could do to kind of predict which cities are getting infected or how bad it's going to be based on these mathematical models. So it's a pretty cool card, actually.
And Los Angeles doesn't get hit. That's awesome. All right, so I'm not gonna tell you what to do, but I'm just gonna circle and mess around.
Wait, what? It's so laggy. I can't see the hint. Okay. Okay, I'm seeing a circling around Milan.
Trying to
Okay.
find hints.
Yeah, okay, so I'm assuming you want me to fly to Paris and treat Milan?
Yep.
All on my own, guys.
You could treat once, or you could treat twice, and then go, or you could treat once, go over to Istanbul, or you could treat once, go to Paris, and then cover Milan and Madrid, or you could treat twice in Milan.
Should I go back to? Wait, never mind. I don't have the Paris card anymore, and no one has any red. So maybe let's just treat twice in Milan.
Okay. Either of those options were really good, so it doesn't really matter. Epidemic card.
Do it wrong.
Ooh.
It's not that bad because there's not that many places. So we already went over the epidemic card. All right, so Johannesburg is gonna probably get hit. So we should probably use forecast and make sure. Actually, no, it's not that bad because it only hits Kinshasa and Khartoum. So then we could just fly them. the medic down, run
Yeah,
over.
I was gonna say I have at least one of those cards, but I don't think it's that close.
It's Lima. You could go Lima, Santiago.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Or you could use forecast and just completely remove Johannesburg from the top. Or actually, we should probably use forecast because we have a few that are on 2.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Control our fate.
Ooh.
Okay, so Kolkata is on 2. Put that at the bottom. Atlanta's on 1. Taipei's on 0. Los
Don't we wanna
Angeles
put Los Angeles at the very bottom.
on 0. Milan's on 1, and Manila is on 2. So we want Manila at the end, and we want Milan actually near the top. So, because
The quarantine.
we covered.
Yeah.
Nice.
And yeah, this is probably the best option that we have.
Okay. All right.
Cool.
Okay, so we'll have to make sure to go to Calcutta before that gets hit.
Milan,
Oh yeah, true.
what surprise. And Taipei. Who would have thought? Alright,
Yeah. So caught
so
off
we
guard.
know that we're gonna get hit and that's gonna get hit. So yeah, that's just information. Let me do my job.
Yes. So I would say that my 2 main options are to go to Calcutta or go to Manila and treat, but maybe I'll pick, and they're both 2 moves away, but maybe I'll go to Calcutta because the medic is near Manila.
Yeah, that's fair. But I can also. Oh no, that's
My only
yeah.
thought is, Amanda, if you get somewhere where I can get you, you have 2 blues and I have 2 blues. So then if I can give them to you, then you can make a cure for blue.
That's
Yeah,
true.
we could do that.
Does that make sense?
So,
So if you went to Manila,
Calcutta in the next.
or I could go to Calcutta treat once and then go to Baghdad.
Well, we already know what's coming. We know that Manila is gonna get hit. So.
Yeah.
And the researcher is right next to it, so they can just go to San Francisco, Manila, and then,
exactly, yeah.
and then you'll have 4, and then we have government grant. We can put in like Bangkok or Ho Chi Minh.
Oh, I was looking at the quarantine specialist and thinking that
Oh, I was wondering about that.
not where you are. So I lost my streak of giving smart answers.
That's okay. I feel like it's a common board game problem of like remembering which one is yours and where you are.
Yeah.
All right, so are we gonna go with my plan?
Yes, we'll go with your plan.
And we're gonna treat twice, and then that is good.
Awesome.
Milan and Johannesburg. So we only have to treat once, and then we can hop down to Johannesburg.
Nice.
Infect cities. Oh, what surprise!
The thing is, I've already forgotten what all the cards were, so it is a surprise.
Yeah, I don't remember.
Okay.
That's the beauty of it, though. Then you keep it a surprise.
Yeah.
But it's like a planned surprise. Like you're not,
You know you're
that
safe.
it's okay. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so should I go to Calcutta then, because we know that one's coming up, and it has 2 disease cubes. I think everyone.
I think
Yes,
so.
it says 2. Yeah.
I think so too. Okay, yeah, let's do that. So
Well
then
done, you're right.
I can
I
just-
did not mean to do that, but that actually does work. So now I can go to Hong Kong, and we could go to Kolkata, and we.
Yeah.
I accidentally did that, but it worked. Now
Have the Peter approval.
everything's awesome. All right, finish the turn. Draw. What did you get? You got Buenos Aires and Mumbai. Buenos Aires is actually good because you need to walk on it.
Okay.
All right.
Manila
Ooh.
and Kolkata.
Okay.
And that's the last one we knew about.
I think so.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna go to Manila and share my Chicago and Essen cards with the scientist.
Are you waiting for my opinion? Or are you like?
I want you to just do it, Peter.
Oh, not even asking.
Like,
See what I say. I'm the new World Health Organization.
The good thing about that I like your plan, is you're going to give me an extra card, but then I can use the extra card to go straight to Atlanta. So that is very
Oh, wait, you already have. Oh, I didn't know you have 3, but that's sure. Yeah. Whoops.
Happy coincidence.
it's a good thing.
I'll just say 2 words: government grant.
Yeah.
So you don't have to. You don't have to share your last card. You can just treat there, and then they'll already have 4, and you can just go. We can put it in Ho Chi Minh, move
Yep.
over. Or
No,
get it.
that's a good point. You can do
Yeah.
that too.
Yeah.
That's pretty convenient.
Tehran and Risampa. So that's very good. You almost have an entire set. You can just go over
Yeah.
to. You can go over to Mumbai.
Oh, whoa. That's really exciting.
So, question. Because we're still in the same city, when it's my turn, I can just give her my Baghdad card though?
No,
No, because we're not in.
no. She can give. She cannot take, but she can give.
Rude. Okay.
What do you mean? I'm a giver. Come on.
I mean, you're
Give
great.
her like the book.
I also have
One book that everyone thought was
Black
really good, but was pretty okay.
Peter, everyone likes
I thought it was not that good. Like that's a very good topic
So
and
no
something
one-
that really doesn't need it.
it.
Yeah.
No one has any red for me, eh?
No, never read.
We're so close.
I know. So I guess maybe I'll just hang out and treat some things.
Yeah.
Manila,
Yeah.
Paris, Madrid.
I mean, sure.
Do. And everything is good because now New York can't get hit. So awesome.
Woohoo!
Awesome.
Los Angeles.
Yeah,
Quarantine specialist
look at me.
mini cards. We may as well get rid of like Los Angeles
Yellow.
because yeah, it's yellow and
Yeah, 'cause-
also Bogota has more connections. Actually, no. Get rid of Bogota because this has more connection to other places.
I see.
Oh, discard 2 cards. Both of them.
All right. Easy choice.
So we're gonna need someone up there. That is the Ring of Death.
Where? Oh, in Seoul?
Yeah, so we could
Yeah,
just
that's
use government grant and put it in Bangkok or Ho Chi Minh. Go 1.
Yeah.
And do it, and then that's
Head
2.
up there.
That's 2 moves. Go over there and then treat once.
Yep. Let's do it.
Okay. Government grant. 1 research station right there. And uno dos.
Yay.
Okay, halfway there.
And treat.
That's awesome.
And everything is gone because it's yellow.
Amazing.
Amazing.
Shanghai and airlift. That is good.
What's airlift?
Yeah, we haven't. No, we haven't.
We haven't gotten airlift yet. Oh, that's surprising. So it takes one player from, like, let's say Madrid, and can put them anywhere on the map.
Whoa,
Oh.
That's awesome.
really great.
Pretty sure we have that.
It's possible.
Lima is starting to act up again. Someone get there. So
I kind of wish the first time we played it was the real time, because that time we won so easily with like very
Yeah.
little difference.
Yeah, that happened pretty quickly.
Yeah.
It happened again. So
Okay. So, should I be maybe treating in Delhi and then making my way over to like one of my yellow cards to keep that under control, or are we not worried about that?
the yellow is fine. What really worries me is Seoul, but we don't need to worry about that until the what's it called comes up. The
Epidemic?
epidemic card comes up.
Right.
So right now what we need to worry about is like getting everything done. So like every cure getting ready and stuff like that, because we already have we have 2 cures on our way.
Yeah, could I meet the medic?
They both need 1 more. So we
Yeah.
could have
Could I meet the medic in Mumbai or something, and then she can treat in Delhi on the way? Or is
Yeah.
that?
what
Oh wait,
I
no, I
was
don't
gonna
need
s-
to be in the place. Never
No,
mind.
you're not fine.
Wait, what? Which one are you again,
What I
Kelly?
was
Are you the researcher?
Kelly's researcher.
Yeah, I just need one more. I need one more black card.
Okay.
I'm on the market for a black card.
Okay. And
Yes,
you don't need to be in the location.
I think to get a card, I do. Is that right?
Yeah. To get a card, you have to be in the location of the card, but to give a card, you just have to be in the same city.
So Mumbai seems like a good option then.
Right?
Yeah. It's at least reachable by the researcher, but then she'll have no more moves at that point and won't be able to share. But we'll at least be in the same place.
I could take this issue and just flip it on its head.
Ooh. Oh. I was gonna say, or she could go to Lagos with her card and then
Or I go to the medic and give all my cards.
That's what I was thinking.
that's the
So-
flipping. Mhm.
Okay, but that's after my move.
The medic could treat once in Kolkata and go 1, 2, and then there'd be 3.
Okay,
1,
neat.
1, 2, 3. Yep. Okay, so how do we just use all the moves? We just need to use all the moves.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for me to be going. Yeah, I can't really do much if I have to go down there because
1, 2, 3. Oh, I have an idea. We could do it pretty quickly by going Delhi. We could go 1, 2, 3, and then treat in Seoul, and then use an airlift to get her down to Manila, and then the researcher shares all her cards, and the medic goes to Ho Chi Minh and treats.
how am I getting to Seoul though?
Just 1, 2, 3, just walking up.
Oh, I see, through Hong Kong and then Shanghai. Okay, yeah, I could do
And
that.
then we can use an airlift to get down to Manila.
Sure. Because an airlift doesn't count as a move, right? It's
No,
just
it
a
doesn't.
special card. Okay. Yeah, sounds good.
2, 3, treat, event, airlift, down.
Wonderful. That is handy.
Very handy.
Just the
And
secret
everything
of having your back pocket.
Yeah, that would be nice.
And Delhi, so we only need to do 2 cards.
Oh, okay, perfect.
Infect City step. Johannesburg. I knew that was coming. Yeah, I was counting the amount of times. Hold on.
Wow, he's really keeping track of
I
things.
need my list to
Yeah.
see how many cards we have left and see how.
What we were talking about.
I have no idea.
During
It's
one of
either
the times we
6, 8, or 3. I'm gonna guess it's 8. So we have what?
Okay.
I could just do. Yeah, we have 8. We have 8 left.
Cards left, yeah.
No, yeah, 8 cards left. So that means. I'm trying to move this so I can get back to full screen. Okay, there we go.
But there's more epidemic cards in the.
Yeah, there's one more epidemic card in the last 8, and so that means we have 4 turns to cure everything.
Oh, so if we don't get
geez.
so after 4 turns, that's it, basically.
Yeah.
This is a closer game than I thought it
This
was.
is
I thought
really
we were doing
close.
well.
I thought we were doing so well.
We're really close to getting 2 more cures, but
I mean, in my next move, I can definitely get the cure for the black one, right? If we get the researcher to transfer cards, or
Yeah.
yeah.
So I'll give you 2.
Yeah.
But which ones?
Whatever ones are less useful to you.
I
Because
think
I'm really close to a research station, so I don't.
yeah, I think let's do Cairo and how about Algiers? And then I'll fly to Tehran and then go to Delhi. But wait, no, that's all my turns. Can we also, what is
I
the
feel like you
resistant
should-
population? Can we just use that for fun?
Resilient resilient population, whatever. Yeah, we can just use that. Remove 1 card. Just
Okay.
remove Delhi so we don't have to worry. Yeah,
Okay.
it's just we don't want to worry about Delhi. Delhi is not fun to
Okay,
worry about.
perfect.
All right, so Delhi is no longer a threat. So
If we use the one quiet night at some point, does that also give us an extra turn before we die?
yeah, it is giving us an extra turn. Oh, I have an idea. I found out how to win the game. It's gonna
Yeah.
go to the wire, but
I have an idea too. I think it might be. No, I actually do.
Okay, go Tavia.
It's not my turn yet.
I know. Tavia.
Oh, only for my player.
so
I have.
confusing.
I don't have all the plans.
Come on, Tavia. You're the next World Health Organization.
Okay.
Wait, I'm confused now. Sorry.
So
What?
Yeah.
Definitely need to share at least 2 cards with me, but shouldn't you pick ones that are not close to the research station, so that, or like in case you need to go there? I guess you won't need to. But...
Well, yeah, because. So wait, okay, so I have to give you 2 cards.
Yeah, I think that's the minimum.
Okay, I'll give you Moscow and Cairo.
Okay.
I'm not hearing any argument with that, so taking that as
I
a
haven't.
big sign.
Medica's too many cards. Doesn't matter about that. Share.
Yeah, Medic does have a lot of cards.
Medica's too many cards. Buenos Aires doesn't matter. Okay. So, do you want to hear my opinion?
Of course.
Yes, of course.
All right. So, you have you can get to Algiers and then Madrid, but can't share. So we could I'm actually gonna undo those 2.
Oh
No.
I don't think we can win this.
Oh no. No. Are you sure?
So 3 down. Can he get to? Can they get to there? Chicago 3. Get to there. Could we get to there? No, we can't. Okay, so can we get to? No, that wouldn't work.
Oh, I see. Because this
we lost.
researchers
Yeah,
last.
We lost. First we crashed.
Dire.
No, Peter.
We just need one more. We need one more turn. We win.
Okay, wait. No,
We don't
but
have that turn.
so does the one quiet night not help us? Doesn't that give us?
No, it doesn't give us the one extra turn that we need.
So really we need 2 more turns.
No, it doesn't give us the one extra turn that we need. I'm just gonna go back. It doesn't give us the one extra turn that we need. Like, we need one extra card turn.
Oh.
Maybe
Like,
we'll get another event card.
It's all luck.
How many event cards are there? We have one. And then we had the other. We had the airlift. We had the government going at that. And what's another one that there is?
We use a resilient population.
Yeah. So that's 4. Is there 5 or is there only 4? If there's 5, then we might be able to do it. If there's 4, then definitely not. Or no, there's 5, and there's forecast as well. So yeah, I think we lost this one.
That's so embarrassing.
Unless we could find some sort of miracle.
Well, give it a try.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah, we should try it.
Yeah.
But
We'll
our
go
best.
down fighting.
okay,
To the end.
you could give Cairo and Moscow away because they don't matter.
Okay.
Just in this context.
I apologize.
Okay, wait. No, never mind.
Oh.
Okay, so yeah, we physically can't win, but okay, let's try. So we get to there without ending our turn. No, we can't. So I need to have my calculations be incorrect for us to win.
So
Perfect.
let's hope that you were wrong.
Yeah.
And yeah, we lost. Okay. GG's.
GG.
That's good game in gamer terms.
Oh, that's new.
Well, who knows? Maybe Tavia's got something up her sleeve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you can magically get a red card into your hand, like if you could.
I just need 2 turns, and then I'm good, but I don't have them. So I would like to go to Bangkok.
What?
Oh.
Right?
You can get there in 4 turns.
Uses up the turn, right?
2 with Kolkata.
And then, wait, where's the medic?
Medic's over there in Manila.
But I'm the last turn of the game, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless.
Is there any way to? How far away is Shanghai? Way too far then.
Yeah, Shanghai is very far away.
Mm-hmm. Man.
Those red cards, like you've had 4 for a long time.
No.
Could we accidentally crash the game again?
We never lost.
No. That's when you lose. That's my consolation.
How many turns are you allowed to go back? We'll just erase, 20 minutes of game time and then fix our mistakes.
If only we had like in Harry Potter with the time turner, just go back.
Yes. Yes.
I feel
Okay.
like we disappointed Peter. I feel really
I
bad.
know.
We won at least once before with
Yeah.
complete advice, but still.
We won in like 5 minutes before.
No.
5
Well,
minutes?
Oh, look, an epidemic. Just
Look, we got a Manila card.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
Poor luck.
Oh.
Yes, to respect.
It's interesting because like before the red was the first one that we had cured before, and then now it's like
It's the only one.
it's the trickiest one to figure out.
Definitely.
Yeah, because it's such a small, like, kind of place.
Geographic place.
Yeah.
On the upside, I didn't really understand
Look
how
at this.
we
Look at
lost,
this. Look at this.
and now I do.
Oh no. Ooh, let's go over there just to see the sights and stuff.
Are you just playing for them now?
He's like, might as well.
Yeah, I'm so confused right now.
I want to at least get the black cure. I think that's important. We end on a high note.
Right,
Yeah,
at least one more cure.
Yeah, then that way we almost got there. Like we
Right.
were-
Yeah.
And look, we lost. Look, we lost real bad.
Oh no.
Guys, we needed to do that so we could show them what a pandemic looks like on the
Yeah,
curing
good.
board. So
Yeah.
that's why
Right,
we
yes.
strategized in
To see all the
advance
facets.
to show you
Yeah.
this.
Mhm, mhm.
Okay.
Okay, yay!
One quiet night just to spice things up a bit.
All right.
Yeah, let's go to Los Angeles, see the sights. Why not?
Use all the cards
See, we
you can.
0 cards.
So what does it say though?
This is also
Why are we not?
scientists don't always have the answers either.
To play, it seems.
True. Yeah.
Moral of the story.
Okay,
I don't know.
let's finish it up. Let's see if we
Okay,
can
All right,
fix
we
it.
get to play.
Researcher, where do you want to go? Do you want to go to you can't really help. We just need one more turn to have the quarantine specialist in Atlanta.
That makes me so sad. Okay, well,
Wanna
why don't I go?
how about the sites of Chicago? Wanna do that?
Okay,
This is Joyride.
yeah,
Yeah,
a little cross country.
you want to build a little house in Chicago? Yeah, let's build a little house.
Little house.
Frank Lloyd.
Start an alternate life
And,
there.
yeah, no cards, so we lose.
Oh no!
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm in Atlanta.
We needed one more.
Or
We're so close. But at least we were close. Like we didn't.
Yeah,
No.
we were so close.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In real life, it would just continue, and we would.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's not necessarily the end of the world.
Yeah,
It wouldn't be
exactly.
the end of the world. We just need to get it and then give it to everyone else, and everything would be cool.
Oh well.
Okay.
ah,
That's so funny.
All right. Well,
It was close.
thank you
What a ride.
everyone for playing, and you guys for trying out this experimental format, and thank you for those who stuck around to watch the rest of it or who are coming back to watch it again. We would appreciate any feedback at bit.ly/don't without an apostrophe -pandemic-feedback. I hope you guys had a great time. I think we all did, right? Even though we didn't necessarily win. But we hope to see you guys back again and hear from you and how you enjoyed this event.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.